What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another Dragonflight video. Hope you're all doing very well. We had a massive drop on the PTR yesterday. There was a massive amount of changes that came through on the PTR for so many classes. I'm going to cover about as many of them as I can. This video will just be Enhancement Shaman. I'm going to go through it as quickly as I can as well. There's a new Hunter raid buff. We'll get to that in other videos. I promise you we will. For now, let's just talk about Enhancement Shaman and what happened here, because there were some significant changes for you. We shuffled a few talents around the tree, increased some available talent choices. We've also adjusted the functionality of a few talents to work with melee abilities or elemental damage types and make them more attractive. I'll talk about that. That's Legacy of the Frost Switch, most notably. New passive talent that's available to choose rather than LE Blast. We'll talk about that. We hope these changes give you some flexibility. Here's what happened. Several talents moved around. I'll show you that. Starter build got updated. Massive. Massive deal. The starter build. Very good. LE Assault now also generate Maelstrom weapon charges from Ice Strike and Lava Lash rather than only Storm Strike. This is insane. It's not up yet. This will be added in next week's PTR. I'll talk about this later, like in a couple minutes. That's going to be a really big change, I think, for single target Maelstrom weapon stack generation. I think it's going to be really good. Legacy of the Frost Witch, true to its name, now also increases frost damage when consuming 10 stacks of Maelstrom weapon rather than only physical. And yes, that applies to the 5% buff or the 25% buff. I don't think that's going to matter in this upcoming tier because of the tier set bonus. We'll get to that. Primordial Wave can no longer be used to heal a friendly ally. Now it's only offensive. I think this change came through. This happened for Ellie, and then the reverse happened for Resto. I think it's for people who have mouse over macros. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I don't have any mouse over macros, so, but I'm assuming it's like somebody goes to put Primordial Wave on an enemy, and they mouse over a melee ally, like the tank, and then they heal the tank with it instead, and it screws up their whole rotation. That makes sense to me. That's probably why this changed. Splintered Elements now grants you 20% haste plus an additional 4% per target hit by permanent rather than 10% per target. This looks like a nerf on paper. I'll explain why it's not. New talent, Tempest Strikes. I'll get to this. Amidrasil had the tier set bonus problems fixed. So issue that prevented the tier set bonus from granting the player Maelstrom weapon stack generation. That was a noted bug, and that has changed now. And then this is important. Fixed an issue that prevented the set bonus from changing your feral spirits into a feral raptor. Very important. Very freaking important. You don't want two raptors plus a wolf, okay? You can't have two raptors plus a wolf. That doesn't work. So they changed it. I love that kind of stuff. That's hilarious. Okay, let's look at the tree. The tree is shuffled around a little bit. Most notably, Elemental Blast is now up here, and it shares a talent with Tempest Strikes. I'll get to that in a second. Now you've got Storm's Wrath here, and then Storm Blast got moved over here. Okay, so that's a very notable change. Feral Lunge is here. I'm not sure if it was there before. I don't think so. Nothing else really got moved around. Nothing else got moved around. Let me touch on LE Assault. This is a talent that makes your Storm Strike damage increase, and then the Storm Strike has a 50% chance, or with 2 talent points, a 100% chance to generate a Maelstrom weapon stack. This will also apply to Ice Strike and Lava Lash once next week's PTR build goes live, next Wednesday. So that is potentially really good in single target, because I think you're going to be incentivized to take Lava Lash and Ice Strike in single target now, and you're going to like dump Sundering. Then you'll have Storm Strike, Lava Lash, and Ice Strike in single target because of this new talent, Tempest Strikes. Let's look at this. Storm Strike, Ice Strike, and Lava Lash have a 100% chance to discharge electricity, dealing 7,700 nature damage. So in single target, for sure, Elemental Blast is amazing. I absolutely understand that. I'm not disputing that whatsoever. But if you want to run the Thorum Storm build in single target, you want to be pressing Lightning Bolt, because it gets 20% more damage right here from Thorums. And when you activate Ascendance, it will automatically shoot out those Lightning Bolts, which obviously do extra damage. So you don't want to have to press LE Blast instead of Lightning. You want to be pressing Lightning Bolt, because Lightning Bolt also has a chance to refund the Maelstrom you spend on it. So if you're doing a Thorums build, a Storm build in single target, this is absolutely the talent you want to be taking now, because you're going to be pressing Storm Strike a lot. Your Storm Strike is going to proc extra times from Storm Flurry, and these extra procs will proc Tempest Strikes, okay? Then you're also going to want to press Ice Strike and Lava Lash as your filler buttons. And you don't want to ever be pressing LE Blast because it's replacing the Lightning Bolt that you're pressing. So I think this might be a really, really good choice for this single target Storm build. If you're doing a Elementalist build, you're still going to want to take LE Blast. Perfectly fine. No problem at all. Very, very good. Lastly, the change to Legacy of the Frost Switch, I think, is not going to matter on this particular set coming up because in 10.2, because it's going to buff now your physical and your frost damage. I don't think that matters. I don't think anybody running an Elementalist build is ever going to take Legacy. You just don't really have talent points for it. And you're especially not going to take 2 points into Legacy just to buff your frost damage. Yes, you do a lot of frost damage with your cleaving hailstorm, frost shocks, but it's not going to make you take Legacy. So I'm not really sure if this change is going to matter at all. Okay? Let's look at some numbers here. I have an AoE build that I've cooked up. There's an AoE Elementalist build, an AoE Storm build, and then a single target Storm build. So I'll look at all of those in a minute. Let's look at the Thorum's AoE build first. The numbers are pretty good. I was just hitting 4 targets here. And this is what it looks like. Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, Crash Lightning, Spirit Wolf, Wind Fury. Flame Shock is up there because we have to spread the Flame Shocks around now in order to capitalize on the 10.2 tier set bonus, right? Primordial Wave summons that Lightning Feral Spirit that increases your nature damage for 15 seconds, and then summoning a Feral Spirit reduces cooldown on Primordial Wave. So we have to at least take Primordial Wave, and we also have to at least take Molten Assault because we need to spread the Primordial Wave stuff around. I've showed you this in my other video. Here's what it looks like now with the new changes when we add in Tempest Strikes. This is kind of the damage that I was doing. And Tempest Strikes ends up doing 3.2% more of our damage. That's just like an additional 3.2% of damage that we didn't have before. Honestly, that's what that means in my mind. And I think this build is actually in a really healthy place. Let me get a turnip down and help everybody's damage here. I had somebody freak out about my turnip yesterday, which was really hilarious. Let's do the AoE Storm build. We'll try to get 6 targets, right? We have 1 over here and 5 right here. I am not running a Wind Fury totem. I just don't have room for it. That's just the bottom line. We're going to do a Flame Shock over here. Then we're always going to press Primordial Wave before we press our Wolves. Very important that we do that. Okay, and then we do our Lightning Bolt. There we go. We're off to the races, Sundering. And we're trying to press Storm Strike as much as we possibly can, right? Oh, we got a proc already. That's great. I don't have any investment into the haste buff from Primordial Wave. So this is just sort of au naturel, basically. Primordial Wave is back. We're going to cast that first. Then we're going to cast our dogs. Then we're going to do a big Lightning Bolt. Get lots of damage from that. You can see we're basically sustaining 300k almost. I did get 1 proc already, but the damage is good. The damage is really good. I'm going to get my Wolves back here. And I'm going to summon them right into another Primordial Wave. And we get another big Lightning Bolt right here. And that's like a huge boost of damage. And there you go. It's not too crazy. You're still fishing for procs with Storm Strike. Anytime you can press Storm Strike, you want to press it. Because it's going to trigger those Tempest Strikes. The new buff that we got. It's going to trigger that a bunch of times. And it's, of course, going to trigger Ascendance, which is what we really want. There's a proc. Good damage. Get a Lava Lash in there. Good damage. We'll summon another Primordial Wave, and then we'll summon our dogs. Always do Primordial Wave into dogs. That's what you always want to do, okay? And there's your damage. That's kind of how it works out there. Obviously, we'll get a couple Chain Lightnings on the way out. 270 to 300k DPS. Chain Lightning. Lightning Bolt. Big, big damage, because we're getting the cleave from Lightning Bolt, of course. Crash Lightning, Wind Fury. Some Flame Shock damage, and then Lava Lash is not doing a lot of damage. It's just meant to spread the Flame Shocks. And then Tempest Strikes was only 2% of our damage that time. But again, it is giving us that extra damage. Over the course of like an entire dungeon, I think Tempest Strikes might end up being like 2 to 4% of your damage if you're lucky. I didn't get a whole lot of extra Storm Flurry procs there, but that's how that looks. We'll look at the Elementalist build in AoE really quickly here. I think the Elementalist build is going to be fantastic. And you can obviously, you could take Tempest Strikes again if you want to, or you can take Elemental Blast. Let's just take Tempest Strikes just for fun, because it will proc every time we press Lava Lash or every time we press our Ice Strike. So keep in mind, this is still going to work on your Elementalist build, and it does nature damage, which means it's buffed by our Nature Wolf if we get him out, okay? Once again, Primordial Wave first into dogs. Let's get another Flame Shock set up here Primordial Wave into dogs. Spread it around. Then we go Lightning Bolt. There we go. And we'll get a Frost Shock going. And then we're going to tab target with our Lava Lash to get the damage going. Ice Strike. We have a huge haste window right now. As many Frost Shocks as we can get in there. 320k out of the gates. It's looking really good. I'm going to hold on my Wolves right now so I can cast Primordial Wave first. Then we do this. Then we go big Lightning Bolt, and we're going super fast again. This build does include the haste buff, of course, because you're going all the way down the Primordial Wave line. And we're getting big Frost Shocks. It's looking good. It's looking good. Absolutely, it's looking fantastic. We don't have a Sundering buff anymore, but Sundering still does really good damage in AoE. Let's summon our... Oh, I did that in the wrong order. Ah, whatever. It's bricked. That's fine. We're doing more damage than we were before. I think somebody put an extra turnip down. I think we're actually cheating on the damage a bit here. Always try to keep that in mind. These numbers are very likely going to change. Okay, just keep that in mind. But yes, the damage is very good. It's likely better than the Thorum's damage by a little bit, I would say. There's your Lightning Bolt, a Flame Shock, Chain Lightning, Frost Shock, Lava Lash. There's your big, you know, it's all the elements coming together. We did have Tempest Strikes. Once again, almost 2% of our damage. You could opt out of that and just go Ele Blast. If you're doing a Mythic Plus dungeon, maybe you take Ele Blast instead so that you can get that single target damage on boss fights. It's up to you. Both of these builds are going to work perfectly fine. Both of these builds can utilize Tempest Strikes if you want them to, but you really don't have to. Here's a single target build that I've kind of cooked up. It's the Thorum's build. I don't think you're going to have any trouble trying to do a single target build with the Elementalist, okay? So I'm actually not even going to showcase that today. I don't think it's going to be a problem. The question is going to be, can you do a Storm build with single target in mind? Because, again, the tier set bonus is pulling us away from the Storm side of the tree, and it makes us have to go and get Primordial Wave. At least we have to get the Primordial Wave base ability. So here's a single target Storm build. We're not taking Sundering. We're not getting the Primordial Wave buffs. We're just getting double Legacy of the Frost Witch buffs. We're not taking Alpha Wolf. Double Legacy, Ice Strike, Lava Lash. We don't need to spread our Flame Shocks around, so we're just getting Lava Lash as a maintenance buff for our Flame Shock and also to trigger Tempest Strikes. That's why we want that there. Very, very good. It's going to give us that extra damage. Here we go, okay? Let me get the totem down, refresh our buffs. Here's what a single target build might look like. Again, none of these have Lust. None of these have external buffs. I'm not potted. I'm just, right, just take it all with a grain of salt. This is not the final PTR build. We're just testing with these new talents that we've been given. Primordial Wave into Wolves. Always do it in that order. Okay, here we go. Big damage. We'll do an Ice Strike. Now, we are trying to press Storm Strike as much as we can, and we have the Legacy buff, so it's going to reset Storm Strike for us. I'm going to do Wind Fury. Okay, here we go. Anytime you can press your Storm Strike, you want to press it as much as you can so that you can trigger the bonus, trigger the Ascendance proc. Okay, Wolves are up. Primordial Wave again. Here we go. 326k Lightning Bolt. Big Lightning Bolt damage. I love that. Where we're filling. Oh, I shouldn't have pressed Lightning Bolt there, but that's okay. We're almost cresting 100k. We're over 100k now. We haven't even got a single proc yet. We will. We will. Patience is a virtue. Okay, we're out of buttons to press, actually. Repress our Wind Fury totem. That was a small moment of downtime there. There we go. We got a proc. Very good. Summon our Wolves. We got a proc. We're getting the free Lightning Bolt cast there. Very, very good. Primordial Wave into another big Lightning Bolt. And keep maintaining our Flame Shock with our Lava Lash. That's primarily why it's there. As many Storm Strike as we can get. Remember, when we summon the Primordial Wave, we also are getting the nature damage bonus. And the Storm build does a lot of nature damage, right? Your Storm Strike triggers Storm Blast, which does nature damage. Your Lightning Bolts do nature damage. If you proc Ascendance, you're getting a big chunk of lightning damage, of course. And then you're launching those Lightning Bolts for free, which are also giving you nature damage. So there's a lot there. Our Wolves are back, and this is how the build works. You can see 95k, and we're going to go up maybe to 100k here. If we get lucky. Yeah, there's 100k right there. So that's kind of how your damage is going to look. It would be better. It's going to be much better with Lust. It's going to be much better with the right stats. Like, guys, we're missing all that stuff, right? Again, please, I can't say this enough. This is not how the damage is going to look at the end of the day. It's going to be better for you once you get to 10.2. My gear is only, what, 449? Like, you're going to get up to 480, 485 once you get to the end of patch 10.2. This is just the beginning. It's just the beginning. So please keep that in mind. Lightning Bolt doing massive amounts of damage for us. And again, that's good because we're buffing it by 20%, and it has a chance to refund the Maelstrom spent on it, which means we can press it more and more and more. There's your Wind Fury. There's Storm Strike. That's kind of how the build works there. So there's a single target build for the Storm. There's an AoE Elementalist build and an AoE Storm build. I think they're all going to work perfectly fine. You can all utilize the Tempest Strikes damage. It did 7.1% of our damage there on single target, so it contributes a lot more damage on single target. You can choose to take Elemental Blast if you want to. There are new interactions with Lava Lash and Ice Strike and Storm Strike, all proccing Tempest Strikes. Next week, we are going to get a buff to Ellie Assault. It might be worth putting 1 point into Ellie Assault. You saw on the single target demo there, we struggled a little bit to get Maelstrom weapon stacks at certain points. We were kind of getting into that drought where I had to replace my Wind Fury totem because that's the only button I had available. Next week, when Elemental Assault says that Lava Lash and Storm Strike or Ice Strike can also contribute to generating Maelstrom weapon stacks, you might take 1 point out of Legacy and put 1 point into Ellie Assault. That might be worth doing. Or maybe it's worth taking 1 point out of both of these and putting 2 points into Ellie Assault. I don't know. We're going to experiment, but that is a potential change to get really, really good Maelstrom weapon stack generation in the single target build. That's what it's all about. If you can keep generating Maelstrom weapon stacks, you will do lots of damage. So Enhancement Shaman is looking good. The damage is looking absolutely fine, even with these new talent changes. And I'm excited actually for the Tempest Strike stuff. I think it's going to be really fun. I think Blizzard has done a good job here. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Please let me know what you think. I would love to hear from you guys. Massive changes here for Enhancement Shaman. It's looking good. The damage is looking fine. Don't worry. Don't be dooming all over the internet. We are going to be absolutely just fine in 10.2. Thank you guys so much again for watching. Love you all. I will see you in the next one.